everybody. I love that no matter what, you always try. You always try, and that's what matters. I have people that won't even give it a try and they say, Roxann, just Roxann. That's it. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much, more than you know. You're lucky you have an easy name. I can't mess up, Mr. Al Thomas. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, your leadership. And you guys, that's just to show that even Mr. Al Thomas, no matter what position he's at, no matter how much money he's made, no matter what he's done in life, he still tries anything and everything. If he doesn't know how to do it, he tries and tries and tries again. And I love that. So thank you. I appreciate you so much. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. I recently realized I thought this was my last Tuesday with y'all. So I was about to sum up everything we've talked about this month. And I'm like, wait a minute, July has 5. Y'all get me for another week. Whoop, whoop. So I'm still going to tie everything up and just show you guys kind of the sequence of what we've been talking about. And I know we started out with following up from Miss Carrie Roeder's conversation about money and that FU money, that fun unlimited money, right? And sometimes people think, especially if they haven't had money before, that it's just not something in their grasp or something that they need. They always say, oh, well, I don't need that much money. Well, you don't need that much money because you can't envision yourself with that much money. So that was kind of our first conversation, is talking about money, but also the concept of it's not about the money. The money comes. It's what we do to get it, what we do to receive it, what we do to attract it, the opportunities, all that stuff. And then we transitioned, or we kind of evolved to talking about our environment, the community we keep around us, the people we have around us. And we talked about some friends and even family members or people that we have in our lives that could be anchors. And I said, cut them off, get rid of them. If they're not serving you, you can't serve others, right? We have our anchors and our buoys that are just watching, waiting to see what happens. They're not helping you succeed. They're not helping you when you fail. They're just there. They're just there to watch. And then, of course, we have our engines that propel us, but also hold us back when we need it, because we know we need it sometimes. I'm always on the go, and sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for getting me in check. I needed that. But how important all that is. Why? Who here thinks that who thinks that we control our thoughts? We control our own thoughts, right? We got a lot of hands going up. Absolutely. Well, the answer is we don't. Mr. Al Thomas is like, oh, wait, I'm wrong. We don't control our own thoughts. If we controlled our own thoughts like a car, we're driving a car, we turn this way, which way are we going to go? We turn left, we go left. We turn right, we go right. Well, if I told you, what time is it? 11:09. If I told you at 11:25, what would you be thinking about at 11:25? Would you know? Would you know? No, because we aren't in control of our own thoughts, right? We don't know exactly what we're going to be thinking of at 11:25. Now, some of you guys are thinking, well, I know what direction it can lead in. Absolutely. You can have an idea of these thoughts that come in and where do they go. But my point, getting behind of us not controlling our thoughts, and this is going back to this whole month's conversation and why we need that strong circle of influence, why we need to surround ourselves with wealthy people if we want to be wealthy, why we need to surround ourselves with positive people to have that positive environment. Because yeah, we can say, oh, all this negativity coming in, I'm still going to be positive. Well, that's not really how it works. Because if we can control our thoughts, absolutely that can happen. But the way we think is not because we chose to think this way. The way we think is an influence from our surroundings. It's an influence of what's been, our behavior is learned behavior, what we've seen, what we've absorbed. That's why there's advertisements everywhere. We are bombarded with thousands of suggestive thoughts a day, thousands. And we don't even know it when it comes to billboards or commercials or someone saying something, the little guy waving a sign at the corner of the street, whatever it is, we are bombarded with suggestive thoughts. So we are not in control of our own mind. It's our environment. It's all learned behavior. It's what we receive. So that is why it's so important to have that perfect, can't be perfect, but positive circle of influence around us. Why we can't keep those anchors in our lives, why they're holding us back from achieving our next level, from achieving our next accomplishment, from achieving where we want to achieve. Where you are right now in your life, where I am right now in my life is my own doing, no one else's. I've made these choices. I am where I am. What do I got to do to level up? That's what I'm always thinking about. What do I need to do? What do you need to do to get yourself out of the current situation? Now, you might be in an okay situation, but you want to do better. You want to be more. You want to be a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better mother. You want to obtain more wealth. You want to have more time freedom. Whatever it is, you don't have it because of you. Now, how do we get there? We need to talk about the 4 different ways of learning. There are 4 different ways of how we learn. Now, it might get a little confusing, so make sure you write these down. I have my notes here because there are a lot of the same words. The first way of learning is the unconscious incompetence. Unconscious, Kush is like, yeah, yeah, I remember hearing that. Unconscious incompetence. What does that mean? Well, we don't know what we don't know, right? Think about riding a bike. Now, before you ever saw anybody on a bike, it wasn't a thought. It wasn't something you wanted to learn. It wasn't something that you thought was a good idea. You never thought only thing we could do was walk. That's it. You didn't think or know that there was a better mode of transportation. That is unconscious incompetence. Now, sometimes when it comes to building wealth, that's where we're coming from because we haven't been around it. We don't know what's out there. We don't know that it's obtainable and that we can obtain it and that we can have it and we can live it. And I'm telling you, you can. Just like you can ride a bike, even though you don't know it's an option, you can. So that's the first way of learning, unconscious incompetence. Now, what's next is the conscious incompetence, right? Now we know that it's possible. Now that we've seen other people doing it, we've seen other people riding a bike, but I still don't know how to do it. I've never sat on a bike before. I don't know if I know how. I don't know what happens. I see the wheels, the legs are pedaling. Does it pedal on their own? Do I got to pedal? That's the same thing when it comes to building ACN, when it comes to building a business. You see other people doing it. When it comes to building wealth or even a family. I hear so many times when people have their very first child, they say, I don't know what I'm doing. But they see other people doing it. And the reason why they're so insecure is because they haven't done it themselves. So now we see people build these businesses. We've seen people in network marketing. We know it's possible. We know we can be a senior vice president. How do we know? Because Mr. Al Thomas is there. He's living proof. And he shows us day in and day out the things that he's done to get there. But some of us hasn't taken those steps yet, right? So the second one is conscious incompetence. So what's the third? The third is conscious competence. Now we're learning. That's where most of us are right now. Most of us that have been on this call have been developing, have been going through the motions when it comes to reading books, when it comes to personal development, business development, self-development, whatever it is. That is conscious competence. Now we're learning how to ride that bike, and it's difficult, and we fall. We get up on that bike and we're like, okay, it takes core. We got to balance. It doesn't stand up on its own. How do we do this? Me being fun size, remember we're going to call it fun size, all 4'11". I remember starting riding a bike. People just jump on and the bike's standing up and they're standing on their toes and they're balancing that way. I could never do that. I had to learn. I got to lean the bike sideways. Why? Because I can't touch the floor from the seat. I didn't see that. I had to learn that. I had to hold the bike sideways to be able to put my foot firmly on the ground and be safe and be able to ride, right? So that is the third stage, is conscious competence. Now we're learning the steps. Success leaves clues. I'm laughing, but not at you. Lies. So success leaves clues. And that's why Mr. Thomas and all these leaders puts together these calls, have these training events for us. There's leadership events going all over the place. I attended one a couple weeks ago that the Rockstars put on. I know the Empire has one this weekend in Palm Desert. So there's stuff that's happening. And these leaders want to show us how they got to where they are, because they can't succeed unless we succeed. And that's what's so great about it. And we're all in that learning stage, and we're going to fall. We're going to get those no's. We're going to want to throw in the towel, but we don't. We continue learning so we can get to that fourth stage. And that's conscious competence. Now we become good. Now we're not thinking about it. Now we don't have to worry about how we're balancing on that bike and how we need to pedal and do all those things. Now it starts becoming habit. Now it starts becoming repetition. And that's how we build a business, and that's how we get successful, is just continuing to go through the motions. But On this way, as we're learning, as we're going through these stages, 4 stages of learning, we're bombarded. I talked about being bombarded by outside forces, by negativity. Some of it could be positive, by all this influence coming at us. We've been told, get a good education, get a good job. Get a good education, get a good job. Who here went to college? Who here got a good education? A lot of us, right? Who here has a degree? Who here is not using their degree? A lot of, yeah, I got 2 hands going up. We spent thousands of dollars because that's what we were told to do. Now, who here knows someone that's successful that doesn't have an education? Uh-huh. So is it true what they're saying? You have to have an education to get a good job? Absolutely not. I already see Kush. She's all into this. I love it. He says, no, it is not required. So why is it ingrained in our minds? And it's stuff we spit out too. I've had to teach myself, stop telling that to the kids. Stop telling that to my nieces and nephew. School is important, absolutely. But to get a good job, you do not have to get a good education. Why? Why do we say that? Why is that thinking so important? Why is it so important to know that? Because we limit ourselves. We don't realize that that statement right there is a negative statement. To get a good job, you have to have a good education. How is it negative, right? It doesn't sound that bad. It's because it is limiting ourselves. It's one, it's untrue. It's a false statement. We know it. But yet some of us still believe that. Some of us still repeat it. So it's a false and untrue statement, one. But two, when we go out looking for work after we graduate, we only go out looking for the work that matches exactly the education we have. The degree, that piece of paper we have, does that mean everything we know fits in that little box? Everything we're capable is what that paper says? Mine is a bachelor's of science. Does that mean that's all I know? I have a degree in biology. Is that all I know? Absolutely not. So that statement, you have to have a good education to get a good job, is limiting. Teacher, I love it. So it's limiting because we go to apply for those jobs that piece of paper says. Who here has tried to even apply for a job that's beyond what they think their skill set is? Not many. Marvetta said, yeah, you have. She said, I'm taking the chance. I love it. Absolutely. But most people don't. I know I never did. When I transitioned to entrepreneurship, I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm over having a job. I'm just going for it. That was one job I was not qualified for. No one told me how to run a business. No one told me in the beginning what to do, how to market, do any of that. I was all self-taught because I got tired of following someone else's rules. But there's more competition at the stages that we're applying for. You apply for what that degree has, and we all were raising our hands. People have these degrees. So now we are suffering because we are only applying for what we think we can do because of a little piece of paper where there's more competition. And then we're told no after no after no after no and waiting till we get that yes. But how many people are applying for that 500,000 job position where there's less competition? Not many, right? Jackie Black's like, nope, nope. Why not? Why not? Because we feel that we can't do that job, because we feel that there's no way we qualify for that job. Why? Because we don't have a piece of paper that tells us so. That's the only reason why. So my background, I mentioned, is in biology. I worked as a biologist right out of college. I loved it. I loved the sciences. I loved all that stuff. But I realized real early I got paid this much working for the federal government, this much, and my job wasn't secure. I thought the government was a secure job, but then we were going to have this government shutdown because they couldn't agree on funding, and it was like emergency personnel. Well, y'all know what, biologists aren't emergency personnel, apparently. I didn't know that. So I'm stuck getting paid very little and have very little job security. I got my degree, I got my education, I got a good job, I started a career, I did all the things I was told to do. But then I realized that my income potential was capped. The top biologist at the refuge, I knew where my career would end was capped at $100,000. He was making just over $100,000. And I was like, wait a minute. I devote my entire life I only get so many vacation days a year. And this is all that I'm going to make. This is all that I can accomplish. I know I'm meant for more. I know you are meant for more. So what did I do? I just started applying. I said, you know what? I don't know what I want to do. I know I don't want to do this anymore. And I left my biology position. I started applying for jobs I did not qualify for. Applying for jobs that piece of paper said I couldn't do because it wasn't one of the requirements. My very first job that I got that I applied for because it sounded cool is I designed and sold in-ground swimming pools. Y'all ask me what I knew at that time about a swimming pool. I was a beach girl. I lived in California. I was a beach girl. I knew nothing about swimming pools. I hated swimming pools. Why waste your time in a pool when you can go swim in the ocean? The ocean is so much more fun. As this biology lover, I love the ocean. Some people are like, ew, sand is dirty. But I knew nothing about pools. I knew nothing about construction. Oh, by the way, this was in South Texas and speaking Spanish was a requirement. I knew nothing. But what did I do? I filled out an application online. I printed it. I walked in. I handed my application. They were only accepting online applications. I walked in. I introduced myself. Then the office manager took my resume, walked it upstairs, put it on the owner's desk, and says, "You're calling her now." Why? Because I took that initiative. Because I said, remember we had that conversation, that box. You're in the box, outside the box. I said, I don't have a box, right? I didn't have a box. The rule was apply online, submit online. I walked in, I handed my piece of paper. Now the guys, there were 4 owners. They looked at my resume. They called me in because the office manager made them. They're like, I don't even know why we're calling her. She's not qualified. They called me in. I shook their hand. It was at a long table. They're at one end. I'm at the other end. And I'm having a conversation and they're asking me why I think I'm qualified and I'm asking them why this would be a good job for me. I'm interviewing them at the same time. Is that in the box? Is it outside the box? It's no box, y'all. I'm saying, hey, is this something I want to do? I was already at a career that I thought I wanted and I didn't like it. Is this something that I can see myself doing? So sure enough, they hired me and they asked me the question. They said, why are you applying for this job? And I said, you know what? It's something new. I spent my entire life educating for this position that I don't want to do anymore. They just wanted to make sure I wasn't using them in the interim in case I got a biology job. And I said, I'm changing fields. I don't know what it is. I don't know if this is it. I don't know if this is my forever home. I am trying it out. And I said, so I'm going to ask you the same question. Why did you call me? I don't fit any of the requirements you were asking for. Why did you call me? And one of the owners said, you know what? The reason is because one, office manager told us, and she's the boss. But two, the reason why we're going to hire you now on the spot, he says they're going to hire me on the spot. He said, is because all this other stuff we can teach. Y'all, we aren't applying for these positions. And when we had a job, we weren't applying for these positions because we didn't think we had the qualifications. They said it doesn't matter. All this stuff we can teach. You walked in, you shook our hand, you made eye contact, you had a great conversation. You're a people person. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for. That is the only requirement to have this position. We'll teach everything else along the way. They had CAD systems, stuff on the computer to draw all the things and design all the stuff. I knew nothing, but I learned along the way. I applied for a position I wasn't qualified for. Now, why am I bringing this up? Why am I telling you this story? Because at this moment, maybe we are not qualified to be a senior vice president. I know we're not because the computer says we're not. We don't have the qualifications to meet that, right? We are not qualified to be a regional vice president. Some of us are not qualified to be a regional director, but you possess the skills. They're in you. But because that piece of paper, because online it does not say SVP in your status, we're not acting like SVPs. Because it doesn't say regional vice president, we're not acting like regional vice presidents. You got to act it. Be, do, have. You got to be. You got to do the work to have what you want to have, right? So now we're talking about all these outside influences. Let me take a peek at the time. All these outside influences coming in. All behavior is learned behavior. Now, when things happen, sometimes we tend to throw in the towel. I remember when stuff would bombard me. Like when one thing happens, a million bad things happen, right? Does that seem fair? I swear that was my life. If one thing goes wrong, all thing goes wrong. It's like, all right, what's next? And that brings us down. But if we surround ourselves with positive thinking people, those positive words, even you can do it to yourself. That, what was the last one? Unconscious competence, that builds into our subconscious. We want stuff to build into our subconscious. It's what we receive from the outside. Do you have, we've talked about this before, written on your mirror, positive things? Do you have affirmations taped to your wall, picture frames? So right now on a whiteboard, it says, happiness is a choice. I see it all day, every day. I walk by it a million times. Do I pay attention to it? No, but I know it's there. And it's feeding my brain every single day, probably hundreds of times a day. Happiness is a choice, and it comes from within. That's what it says. Happiness is a choice, and it comes from within. So, as bad things happen, we got to remember that that's a choice. It's a choice to get mad. It's a choice to get upset. It's our choice. It is your choice why you are not a regional vice president yet, a regional director yet. It has been my choice why I'm not a regional vice president yet. I'm talking to myself. I hope you know this. It is my choice. It's been my decision because I haven't done the work that it takes to get there. I haven't met the qualifications. I know I don't qualify right now, but I know I act like a regional vice president, but I just haven't done the work. I got the be done. I just don't have the have done yet. Right? I have to do the work. So I have that. Happiness is a choice and it comes from within. It's feeding me all the time. Do you have these affirmations written down? At one point, I had to write on a mirror every day, you deserve more, you deserve better. Because I was just in a spot where I was stuck. And I'm like, how do I get out here? And I saw it every day, every day. You deserve more, you deserve better. You deserve more, and you deserve better. So now I upgrade my meals. I upgrade my flights. I upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Why? Because I deserve more and I deserve better. You deserve more and you deserve better. How does that change? As all these influences, because I've surrounded myself with people like Mr. L. Thomas, like Miss Carrie Roeder, like Mrs. Jocelyn Driscoll. I've surrounded myself with all these amazing people that feed positivity into me. So before, when bad stuff would happen, and this is, I'm not kidding here. When my day was going crappy, I said, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm giving up. Today is over. I'll start again tomorrow. Who wants to go get a drink? They're like, Roxann, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. I don't care. My day is over. It is ruined. It is done. Who wants to go do some day drinking? And I had some friends that said, all right, let's go. I did. Why? Because that was my circle. That was my sphere of influence. They did it, so I did it. So what happened to me yesterday? I'm going to go just a little bit over time so y'all can see what happened to me yesterday. So I just moved to San Antonio last week. I moved in on Tuesday and then I flew out on Wednesday. Who does that? Yeah, this girl. I moved in. The movers got everything moved in 11 p.m. All my stuff still in boxes. I flew out. I flew back in. I'm ready to upgrade. Let's go, Jose. I flew back in last night. I'm excited for my new place. Like I love this new place I have in San Antonio. It's downtown. It's gorgeous. I'm like, this is what I've been working so hard for. This is just, it's home. And I was just so excited to be home. So I walk in, there's already a Zoom going. I go out to the patio. I sit on the Zoom. It's hot inside. All right, I left with the AC off. I go on the patio just to get a little bit of breeze. It is 94 degrees in San Antonio at the time. Oh my Lord. So inside it's like 100 and like 1,000,000,000 degrees. So I go outside, I handle the Zoom, I go back inside, I go to turn on the air and the fans and do all the things and nothing's turning on. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? I have no electricity. 94 degrees outside. Yes, I'm so excited to be home. I love it. No electricity. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? I told the property management company when I called, there's no Zoom here. When I called the electricity company, they said, I can't get it up till Tuesday. And they said, okay, no problem. The 22nd. Okay, no problem. No big deal. I get home and they had already turned it off. I could be livid. I could be mad. That could ruin my whole night. What do? I say, okay, no problem. I'm sweating and I'm trying to pack some more stuff in a bag. And I'm like, I need to go to a hotel. I run to a hotel. I don't have internet yet. I needed the electricity up. I need to do this call for Mr. L. Thomas in the morning. I need to be set. So I go and I check into a hotel. Now this morning I have to run out there, have to run back to the house and I say, okay, I want to go running. I still got to go with my process. I want to run in the morning. I got to do this before the call. I got to make sure I shower and I get ready and I look good because this is going on the internet, right? So I have to go home into that hot house. And now this morning I'm like sweating and it is 7 a.m. The sun is barely up for like 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, barely. And I'm sweating in this house. And I'm running through trying to look for workout clothes, look for my shoes, get all the stuff together. Everything's still packed. So I'm opening boxes and I'm like, not in this one, not in this one. Of course, it's the box on the bottom. And before I could be upset, before I could be mad, and I'm getting there, y'all, I really am. But I'm saying over and over in my head, why? Because I trained myself, because I've had all these positive influences. I'm saying, you're blessed and highly favored, you're blessed and highly favored, you're blessed and highly favored. As I'm sweating, don't get mad, you're blessed. This is an inconvenience. It's a major inconvenience at this point. We talk about minor inconveniences and how that disrupts our day. Yes, Texas heat is hot. Yes, Sam Foster knows. I keep telling myself I'm blessed and highly favored. It's okay. I will survive. I made it out. Probably lost 10 pounds of sweat just running around my house. But I made it out for my run. Now, why is it important to change our sphere of influence, to have these thoughts about money, to know how we learn, these 4 different ways of learning? Because it changes our whole attitude. It changes who we attract. It changes who we are. Now, I'm saying I love you who you are. I loved me who I was. But to be better, to gain wealth, I have to learn to be better. I have to have these positive influences so that when stuff like this happens and stuff hits the fan, when these crap happens, and it does, and believe me, I wanted to rip the landlord a new one. Oh, and then I'm like, okay, I got to get to a hotel. And I go to hit my garage door opener, and guess what? Does not open without electricity. I'm like, I can't even get my car out. What do I do? It's one thing after another, after another, after another, which would have shut me down before. I would have shut down completely. But I'm like, it's okay. So then I'm driving out to my running spot on the Riverwalk where it's going to be beautiful. I play some amazing music and I'm rocking out in my car. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Yo, I had all this crap happen that could have altered my entire day. Actually, my week. With some people, this could ruin people's week. Oh my Lord, you don't know what happened to me on Tuesday or on Monday when I get back and it's Saturday and they're still talking about it. But we know you can have a bad moment, but you're not allowed to have a bad day, right? Catherine's already mouthing it. Absolutely. So that's why it's important. Some people were like, well, I don't want to cut off this anchor. I mean, I get it. But for you, you have to. For me, I had to. So that you can become the person you are meant to be. That's what I got today, y'all. I'm telling you my crazy life stories because it happens. I'm there right there with you in the trenches. I will be regional vice president because I am a regional vice president. I just got to do the work. It's going to catch up. You are as well. I love y'all. Can't wait to see y'all at these events coming up. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas.